Hello, what is up guys? Evildoer Storm here today, back with another Blade and Soul video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the upcoming event for the Evildoer Storm here today that will be running from December 11th in today's video. Hello, what is up guys? Evildoer Storm here today, December 11th through December 25th. In today's video, we're going to be very insane changes. Real quick before we get into it. Hello, what is up guys? Evildoer Storm here today, back with another Blade and Soul video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the patch notes in their entirety for the Will of Iron update that goes live on December 11th. So whenever you're watching this video, patch went live or is going live on December 11th. This patch brings a lot of changes, so there's a lot of stuff to get through. I'm going to try and give you the TLDR version of all of this information. If you want to read it in its entirety, the official patch notes are linked in the description below. Also, I have videos that I've already created going into more detail and depth about several of these topics here. So if you want to watch any of those, they're also linked in the description below. I will be sure to call them out as we go through the patch notes themselves. But real quick, before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, new to Blade and Soul, or enjoying the content on the channel, please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to me, and it would help to grow the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. We got a lot to cover. So, very first thing to note here is that there is a full patch live stream where they went through a bunch of the different things here. Some of this information has changed from the live stream to the official patch notes, so do be wary if you only go by their live stream. It's an hour and a half long, and I'm pretty much going to cover all the information right now. But if you want to watch it directly from the creators of the game, go ahead and watch their live stream. The link to it is already in the patch notes that are linked in the description below. So first bit of real information, the third spec of the Destroyer is being released on the patch. There is an event that is also going along with this release that is specifically targeted towards Destroyers, but you can still take advantage of it as a player who's not playing as a Destroyer. But when we get to that, we'll go ahead and talk about it in more detail. New spec of the Destroyer, though, is a pretty solid damaging class. Also brings some unique mechanics to the game, so going to be a fun class to play if you have a Destroyer, something to look forward to. Getting a new dungeon, Hangar 0. Recommended level is HM level 22 after level 60. So this is your new endgame, way endgame dungeon if you are at that type of gear level. Rise of the Silver Steel is a new like orange quest line type of thing. So it's not a full addition to the story, but it is some extra story content. So if you play Blade and Soul for the story, now's the time to come back. You're going to have some new story content to run through. There is another holiday treasure trove. If you want information on what's actually in the trove, I have a separate video already created about the full-on trove. TLDR on that video, though, is that there is a bunch of really high endgame progression items in there. So you got your True Tiger Soul or Tiger Soul, something like that. Basically worth 71,000 gold. Absolutely insane. So if you do want to spend some money, there's some big things to pick up from that. However, once again, it is kind of a cash shop item. You really can't get a lot out of it free to play, unless RNGesus has smiled upon you. In addition to that, we have the Reindeer Holiday Challenge. I have a whole video that goes into super big detail about the Reindeer Holiday Challenge. So big TLDR on this one is, it's your daily challenge, 4 daily challenge dungeons a day. Gives you all the event currencies you need, login bonus as well. As a free-to-play player, your biggest thing you want to shoot for on this one is going to be the gems, the octagonal gems that you can get from this. You have enough octagonal gems to either get a full set of octagonals, or you can get 2 triangular gildeds as a free-to-play player, assuming you have the gem fragments, of course. As a pay-to-play player, if you're a premium member, you actually have enough to get 9 of the octagonal gems, which means you can get a square gem from this event. In addition to that event, there is a second event, the Iron Will Reinforcement Chest. You can buy the sucker off of the Hongmoon store for free when the patch goes live. It has an octagonal gem in it, a soul, a talisman, a heart, some accessories, basically a bunch of stuff to instantly gear a new character. And then if you make it on a Destroyer, or you get this item on a Destroyer, you're going to get a Phoenix Bracelet, your Mystic Badge, and your Soul Badge for that Destroyer. So pretty cool. Awesome if you have a Destroyer already, or if you want to go ahead and make a new character that's a Destroyer. So added little bonus for Destroyers, but everybody else, if you don't want to play Destroyer, you can still get an octagonal gem, some souls, talismans, a bunch of different items that you may or may not have already. So great little thing. Make sure you pick this up in the Hongmoon store. It is a free item. Next big thing coming from this patch is auto fishing. Auto fishing is being added to the game. You can buy auto fishing bait from the merchants located near any of the fishing spots in the game. You can now fish for about 12 hours a day, auto fishing every single day. Auto fishing has similar rewards to what it's previously had. However, they've added a new item that is going to go ahead and give you some upgrade materials. So if you want to auto fish overnight, you can get upgrade materials for your character. And with the release of auto fishing, there's also going to be some reputation charms for the Unity system, your Unity system down here in the bottom corner of your screen. The Unity system, you can get additional Unity EXP from auto fishing by purchasing the reputation charms for Angler's Pearls. If you want more information about the auto fishing system, the items to redeem from the event, all of that stuff included in this auto fishing, heart reductions, and more video. So a link to this is in the description below. And speaking of heart reductions, we have a whole spreadsheet with a bunch of information about cost reductions coming to the heart upgrade. So A lot of people in the community are upset about these premium transformation stones being added into this upgrade system. I do want to point out that if you take the value of all of the items that are included on this across the board, this is pretty much a 25 to 50% cost reduction across the board for the entire thing. This is on the NA server with the NA prices. It's actually gone down since when I originally recorded the video. Premium transformation stones were 620 gold at that. They're down to 505 on the NA server. The only stage that is not a cost reduction, and if you are on that stage, make sure to upgrade it before this patch goes live, Awaken Virtuous Heart Stage 3 to True Virtuous Heart is not a cost reduction. You're going to end up spending more money on this upgrade. Once again, this assumes if you were to buy every single material. I do realize that these items over here, these crystals, were farmable. Premium transformation stones, on the other hand, are not very farmable. Alright, so now we get into the part of the patch notes where they're going to go ahead and cover the buffs and nerfs to every single class. And for the most part, just about every class got a buff, and I didn't really see very many nerfs at all. There were a few PvP nerfs or changes that were thrown in there, but for the most part, everything got buffs. Just to pick out the highlights, once again, if you want to view all of the changes that happen to your class, I would highly recommend you read your notes section for your class. It's about midway through the document, but just to go ahead and cover them all. The Assassin received a buff to its stealth mechanics, as well as increasing the damage both in Serpent endgame and making the quality of life improved for the Shadow Specs late game, so solid buffs across the board for the Assassin. Blade Dancer, I'm going to recommend you watch Jark's video and see if he's happy about the patch or negative about the patch. If he's happy about the patch, then this means it's a buff. If it's negative about the patch, then it probably was a nerf, because there's a lot of text here and I don't really understand half of it. But for the most part, it looks like it's been rebalanced for PvP, not really a change to the PvE damaging, but I could be wrong. Blade Master got some buffs on certain scaling ratios, like 800 to 1200, 80 to 500% of your attack power, so some buffs on the scaling ratios, but it looks like the PvP damage is getting nerfed on the backside of it, because as you know, the Blade Master is one of the most powerful and overpowered characters in PvP. Destroyer looks like buffs across the board. This is the Will of Iron patch that's all about the Destroyer, and they're buffing the sucker across the board. So 10% damage reduction while in the Brute Force effect is pretty cool. Increasing boss attack power in both the Stonebreaker and Reaper modes, so definitely some solid damage bonuses coming to the Destroyer, as well as survivability. Force Master looks like it's buffed to the Fire spec by changing how the Solar Flare ability works, giving you more damage and more stacking on it. The Frost spec, it fixed an issue where Icicle Spike could not be cast on a target, so yeah, nothing really there. Gunslinger's getting a bit of a buff. It looks like you're going to be proccing unloads a lot more frequently, and as you know, as I am a Gunslinger main, unloads are the majority of my damage on the Fire spec, so it should be pretty cool to see that damage increase. As far as Undertaker, I don't know how the unload boosting is going to do for that. Is it's going to throw you into the Bulletstorm more frequently, and Bulletstorm is a DPS loss. So we'll see how it works for them, but for Fire Gunslinger, the Destruction Gunslinger, definitely a strong buff on that with more unloads. KFM, I'm going to recommend you watch Ecojin's video and see if he's happy about the patch, because if he's happy, then it was a buff. If he's not happy, then it was not a buff. But I'm going to go ahead and say it's a buff because the Pivot Kick ability now provides a 20% critical hit damage bonus for 3 seconds when active. So that's pretty cool. Soul Fighter seems neutral, just bug fixes and quality of life improvements. I didn't really see anything too crazy in here. Summoner, I'm going to go ahead and recommend you watch Kuropi's video, and if Kuropi's happy, then it was a buff for the class, and if Kuropi's upset, then it wasn't a buff. Just kidding, it looks like the Summoner got buffed really freaking hard. Got higher scaling on different skills, which is pretty cool, and there's absolutely no nerfs whatsoever, so buff all around for the Summoner. Warden got some simple mode quality of life improvements, nothing too crazy there. Warlock, the Distortion spec, is going to get a 10% increase to the damage of Bombardment and Awakened Bombardment. So the Warlock is getting a bit of buff in that spec. Otherwise, it just looks like changes targeted towards PvP. And finally, the Archer looks like the Wind Piercer is getting some serious quality of life improvements, and the Lightbringer doesn't seem to be affected too much by anything here. So seems like a relatively neutral patch here for the Archer. No major nerfs on this one. And that's it as far as changes go. Once again, read the notes for your own class if you want to see every little minute detail. This is just a quick overview of all the different classes. Then we have notes about the changes to the drops that are dropping in the different dungeons. I'm not going to go too crazy in that. We have a new psych that's being added with the Hangar Zero dungeon, which can be used to augment the gloves and necklaces. Imperial gloves and rings are having a reduction in the total upgrade cost for them by knocking it down to either 1 Mao gloves, 1 Bloodstone fragment, or 1 Soulstone crystal, depending on the item. And we're getting a new tier of glove and ring. And that, guys, is basically it for the patch notes. So we cover this really quickly. If you are confused about anything, check out one of the other videos that I have linked that goes through the stuff in more detail. Also, feel free to read any section of this. Once again, the link is in the description below. Also want to point out the fall comic winners are posted. This is also linked in the description below. So if you were following the fall comic contest and you want to see who won or see if your comic won, go ahead and check this post out. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like. Check out some of the other videos on the channel and make sure you're subscribed so you stay updated when new content comes out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next stream, video, wherever I happen to see you. Peace.